Welcome back, Mr. Zakharov. Your suite is almost ready. We didn't know you were coming and the suite was occupied, but they're out. And housekeeping should be done any minute.
What the fuck, man? Are you fucking kidding me? You mean I have to wait? You mean we have to wait right now, bro? Yes? Yes?
I am fucking with you, dude.
We will stay here. It's nice to come back.
Very good.
Let's go up shit on this fucking casino.
Have a great time. What are you fucking waiting for?
Can somebody turn on music? Tom.
I got it.
Vanya, this
one.
You claim this room, I claim your sister.
I claim your mom.
If you are ready now, yeah, okay. Take some. Okay, yes, I'm ready now.
Hello there. Have you fallen into an open manhole recently? Do you find yourself in the company of strangers? Well, then you might very well be in the feature Underground. Despite what you may have heard, my name is Hunter Lanier, and I bring with me this time a review of Sean Baker's festival sweetheart, Anora, starring Mikey Madison in the titular role. As you might have heard, many critics are calling this one of the best movies of the year, and despite the majority's terrible track record, I think I find myself among them on this one. Now, I've never done this before, but I am going to have a spoiler section at the very end of the video. It will be clearly labeled as such in the timestamps, and there will be a clear divider in the video. And in that spoiler section, I'll go into the ending, because I think the ending warrants some discussion, and it's just impossible without spoilers. As I walked out of Anora, the thing that sat heaviest on my mind, partly due to the ending, which is worth talking about, spoiler section, is that even though it carries over Sean Baker's primary motif, scraping the fringes of society for a Willy Loman of the sex market, and meeting that character on their level, as opposed to being a moral authority or an intellectual superior, Anora is the first time where he takes an extra step beyond that for the character. So yes, in Anora, the music that plays over the movie is music that Anora would listen to, in the same way that Red Rocket uses NSYNC. And the dialogue still exudes that Sean Baker authenticity. You don't get the feeling that Baker ever feels the need to make dialogue or anything else in his movies more cinematic. I'm not the biggest fan of realism, but in a time when it feels like media as a whole is hyper-sterilized, it is super refreshing to watch a movie like Anora and hear the way that the characters talk. And it sounds like how people talk if you put a paper cup up against the front door of your local meat market or whatever. I think Sean Baker's lasting legacy, the way I see it, is that he has an intangible way of making the uncinematic cinematic. You have directors in the past like Rossellini who are famous for their realism, but even with Rossellini's realism and the use of non-actors, those movies still have sort of a cinematic decorum about them, whereas Sean Baker's movies are just down in the mud. But all that said, with Anora, I think he does do something different. I think he actually breaks a little bit from his own tradition. Normally you think of Sean Baker's movies as dealing with, some would say, the dregs of society. You think of Sean Baker's movies as capturing those people in a non-judgmental way, but also not glorifying them. Just kind of presenting them as they are, in as honest a way as possible. But with Anora, for the first time, I think he actually injects a definitive point to the character. The character's story, Anora's story, it has a point. It's not just there. In other words, I think Sean Baker has something to say about Anora, whereas in his other movies, I got more of the sense that he was playing a fly on the wall. And I think this extra consideration is a big reason of why Mikey Madison is getting so much attention for the role. Being a funny stripper with a My Cousin Vinny accent is charming and all, and fun to watch, but that's just where the character starts. That's just the baseline of Anora. Take Baker's last movie, Red Rocket. That character, in a similar fashion, was a funny, honestly written character, but he ends the movie roughly the same way he began. He's stuck in this eternal, very entertaining, to those of us on the outside, loop of his own idiocy. In Anora, there is no loop. And that's a big difference, and I think that adds a lot to the character. I don't like to talk about plot in my reviews, partly because you can find a synopsis in a million different places on the internet. And also, at the end of the day, the plot just isn't that interesting to me. The plot line is like a clothesline where you hang all the interesting stuff on top of it. But it actually is, I think, worth talking about in Anora because of how unusual it is and how I think, as a result, effective it is. I'll start with this. When the movie was over and the lights came on in my theater, someone in the theater said, "Well, that was a movie." And I responded, "That was many movies." Now, after I thought about it on the way home, I narrowed it down to 3 movies. Anora actually does end up being 3 pretty distinct movies. There's a little bit of a triptych structure happening, and it wasn't really clear to me until the movie was over. The trailers give you a taste of the first 2 of the movies, but not the third. And the third is very distinct. And I also have to say that the transition between the first and the second movie, we can call them acts, but they're really distinct, so I'll call them movies. The transition between the first and the second movie is worth talking about because it's a huge, long, extended scene that takes place in a single location. And as you're watching it, you just think this could easily work as a 1-act play and be just amazing. It's very Elmore Leonard-ish. It could fit right here on this bookshelf in this section, as is the entire movie that it kicks off. I can see how this structure of having 3 distinct movies might end up being a turnoff for some people. Number 1, because it can be jarring where you're watching one thing and then it becomes something else. And number 2, I think a lot of people might latch on to one of the 3, probably one of the first 2. And then it's over, and then you're watching a movie you're not really inclined to enjoy. I, for one, enjoyed all 3. But I think this triptych style works in the movie's favor. Number 1, because it adds this unpredictability to the movie. And number 2, it gives the movie a natural character progression in the sense that Baker follows the characters in this movie wherever they want to go. And that's how you get kind of 3 distinct types of movies, as opposed to Sean Baker trying to cram them into a pre-existing plot, causing them to artificially change into contrived blobs. But by letting the characters lead the way, it gives Anora a really unique sense of freedom. I hear a lot of directors say that, or writers say that. I let the characters decide. I've never really felt it more than watching Anora. This episode of Feature Underground is brought to you by Feature Underground. For the good of film discourse all over the internet, like, comment, and subscribe if you're new here. Every like and comment helps fill YouTube with valiant efforts of decorum, good faith discussions, and film literacy. Also, reviews of Heretic and A Real Pain are coming very soon, so that's why you want to stay tuned. Commercial over. Mikey Madison is getting a lot of attention for this movie, and rightfully so. And it's largely because the character of Anora covers so much ground. Everything from comically explicit stripteases to heartbreaking realizations. But as with Baker's other movies, this movie is stuffed with amazing performances from people that you've never seen. There's this one Armenian strongman character that gets wrapped up in Anora's marriage saga, and he is in just complete agony for the majority of the movie. And if you enjoy watching people in pain that aren't you, you're gonna have fun with him. I just checked the press notes, and that actor's name is Vache Tavmasian, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. He is apparently a comedian in Armenia, which makes sense. Just as funny as him is his boss, played by a Sean Baker regular, Karan Karagulian. Again, not sure if that's right. Don't hurt me if you see me in public. His character is both an Orthodox priest and the protector of Vanya, who is Anora's borderline child bride in the movie. And when we first meet him, both of those roles overlap in a really funny way. There's also this old guy that works at a candy store who's barely in the movie, and he has maybe one line. But he just has one of those faces that you're glad it has now been preserved in celluloid forever. Or MP4, whatever it is. Okay, you have been warned. This is spoiler time. Spoilers have been activated. Spoilers are in the room with us. Let's talk about the ending. As we near the ending, and Baker starts to really focus on the contrast between Igor the Grunt and Vanya, I started to wonder, is the whole Vanya marriage thing, was that just a Trojan horse to get us into a more resilient love story between Igor and Anora? Then we come to the final scene that takes place in Igor's grandmother's 30-year-old car. No music, just the sound of the engine huffing and puffing in the driving snow. And the snow has a way of muffling all of the other outside noises, which adds this extra layer of seclusion to the final scene. Igor gives her the ring. Anora is filled not with, I don't think, with gratitude. I think she's overwhelmed with an intense affection for the gesture of being thought of, which is then followed up by Igor taking her luggage to the steps so she doesn't have to. Igor gets back in the car. They share a moment. Then she hops on top of him to reward him. After a few moments, there's some awkward combativeness. Then she breaks into tears. The movie ends. There's no music. The tonal distance traveled is immensely felt in that moment. Now, what people are probably wondering most is, why does she start crying? Well, this is my interpretation. First, let's walk back a little. Once she gets the ring and feels that intense feeling of affection for that gesture of kindness, I think that the only way that she knows how to express herself, how to express affection, is through sex. Which is why she doesn't say thank you. She doesn't give him a hug. And I think she breaks down in that moment because she realizes this in that moment. She realizes that whatever is happening now between us, this is not what I wanted to communicate. That sex isn't the message that she wants to send, and it's not the messenger. And there's this cumulative frustration from this, from the past couple of days, and I think this excruciating blow of realizing that not only does she not know how to really connect with another person, but that she desperately needs to. And it's that second part that I think is the really heartbreaking part. As for that little moment of struggle between them, I think that was just indicative of them both being on two different frequencies in that moment. For Igor, he's probably had a crush on her since the moment he saw her. And for him, this is some kind of relationship turning point. For Anora, in her mind, she was just thanking him with sex, and kissing insinuates something more intimate. I'm actually not entirely satisfied with that interpretation. I think there's probably more to it, but that's where I'm at now. In fact, that's why I want to hear from you. Leave a comment below. If you've seen the movie, let me know what you think about that moment. Let me know what you think about that whole end scene as well. I want to hear your thoughts. Of course, be sure to mark your comment as spoiler. Make sure it's obvious. I don't want anyone reading something that they don't want to know. You know, before I saw this movie, I was actually kind of expecting something a little more of like a frolicking romp. I was not expecting a story this reflective, but I'm glad we got it. I think this might be my favorite Sean Baker movie, and I think I've liked all of his movies. Alright, well, those were all my thoughts. I've come completely out of opinions. This is the type of movie that I look forward to seeing again. I think the more I think about it, the more my ideas will change. It's definitely one of my favorite movies I've seen all year. But enough about me, I want to hear about you. Leave a comment with your thoughts on the movie. Are you looking forward to seeing it? Once you see it, come back here, leave your thoughts. I look forward to engaging. I do a pretty good job of replying to every single comment. Next up, I have a review of Heretic. I'll be seeing that on Wednesday, which I think is the day this review will come out. And then I'm seeing Gladiator 2 next week, and then A Real Pain the week after that. So lots of interesting reviews coming up. in the old bullpen. So stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. And until then, all I have to leave you with is the unrefutable, unquenchable truth that every day underground is a good day.
No, I know.
Annie,
It's like,
I got a kid who wants someone who speaks Russian.
you know, Jimmy, the girls and I have been talking, and if your cousin doesn't start showing us some respect, we're not gonna tip out anymore.
All right, I'll talk to him.
Who are you talking about, the DJ?
All right, seriously?
He's an asshole.
I shared my playlist with him, and he was very rude and dismissive.
You're killing me. Let's go, come on.
No, I'm eating my food.
That's why you have Tupperware. Keep things fresh.
He's eating
He's a spender, come on, let's go.
Time is money, baby. Get a roll on it.
Without friends, without nothing. And then some fucking erotic dance. One second, bro. Guys, fucking erotic dance, and then we kicked out. Okay.
Hello, this is the beautiful Annie. She's gonna take care of everything you need tonight. Annie, make me proud.
Yeah. Hi. Yeah. Прекрасно. I'm Иван, and ну ты можешь назвать меня просто Ваня.
Vanya, okay.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
И это мой лучший друг, fucking best friend Tom.
Hi, I'm Annie.
Yeah, not bad. And ты должна знать русский, правильно?
No, I don't speak Russian, but I know Russian.
В смысле?
I can speak Russian. I just prefer not to, but you can go ahead and speak Russian. I'll understand.
I don't understand. What the fuck?
Okay.
Yeah.
Привет, Иван.
Бля!
Меня зовут Анни. Это как я говорю по-русски.